And welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. For more than a century, East Tennessee's biggest construction companies and do-it-yourselfers like you have been going to A.G. Hines Company to pick up their supplies and their tools before starting any kind of home improvement project. Gordon Hines and his family, who are there every day, will take great care of you, I can promise you that. Just a terrific, locally owned company for more than 100 years. Think about that. That's all you need to know. They've been doing it for more than a century. That tells you quality, folks. A.G. Hines Company. All right. Tennessee opens its season, Jimmy and Chuck. I'll start with you. Tennessee opens its season on Thursday, September 1st versus Ball State. Cardinals were 6-7 last year, finished 4th in the MAC. Their only Power 5 foe last year was Penn State, and they gave them a game. Only lost 44-13. Very quickly, what do you want to see from Tennessee when they scrimmage Ball State in the opener?
Go ahead, Jimbo.
I'll touch on two things on defense. One, I want to see if they can guard anybody in pass defense. And secondly, I want to see if they can mount a pass rush. Those would be two things on defense I want to see if Tennessee can improve upon from a year ago.
You know, and I'm looking to see if you're still going to play lightning quick offensively, because I think there's a case can be made that Tennessee plays, it was the fastest pace in the country. But I want to see if you're still going to try and do that the whole way. Or if you do, John, as we've talked about, actually you talk about the 2-minute offense, show us a 4-minute offense. Show us something.
They claim to have one. They just didn't really have a lot of success with it last year.
But they run it in 2 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean you have to show your hand all you've got, but I want to see if there's something there. Just like Jimmy's talking about the DBs, who's going to step up among the wide receivers? I mean, who's going to help out Cedric Wilson? Who's going to be in that group to emerge?
I want to see a pass rush. I mean, you're going to need that later, and granted, Ball State, well, this goes for anything in this game with Ball State. It's not the best competition you're going to face, right. So anything you see in that season opener could be very misleading in terms of what you get the following week at Pitt. But you need to pass rush, because if your secondary is still a question, which I think it is, well, you better speed it up on the other end. Don't let the quarterback dance around. And also, quarterbacks who were mobile last year ate them up. How do you answer that? So there's a lot to look for. Don't know how much you can take it seriously, though, simply because of the level of competition. But at least they're not an FCS team, which we'll talk about later. Bob and Josh, the Vols, after playing Ball State, then travel to reigning ACC champion Pittsburgh. First time the Vols have played at Pitt. Their quarterback, Panthers quarterback, now in the NFL. Their top receiver has transferred to Southern Cal. But I wonder, are folks overlooking Pittsburgh? Because of those facts, are they thinking, it's a win, Pittsburgh, and kind of forgetting the fact that Pittsburgh beat you just last year here. Now you got Hendon Hooker, so people think, well, it's a lock. Are they overlooking Pitt?
Yes, Josh.
We've got a couple of minutes.
I mean, they overlooked Pitt last year.
Yes.
I mean, nobody hardly had Pitt coming in here and beating Tennessee.
And granted, nobody expected them to win the ACC either.
No.
Yeah.
But you've got a solid program under a good coach who just got a big extension on his contract. So, yeah, I think the fact that you've lost your top receiver and your quarterback's in the NFL, sure, that opens up some space for Tennessee. But they've got a pretty good program going up there. Right now, would you say that they're a little bit better than Tennessee year in and in, year out? Yeah, they're a little bit better. So I don't see it being anyway a lock for Tennessee.
Yeah, and better head-to-head, as you guys mentioned last year. So I have heard some Tennessee fans say, okay, let's see, that's our first real test, because Ball State's not expected to be a test. So I have heard that from Tennessee fans. Yeah. But I think the majority of fans are probably overlooking, saying, yeah, that would be in the lock category, that we absolutely should win that game because of the players that you missed. But losing their Biletnikoff winner is a big deal, but Biletnikoff finalist was not out there for Purdue in the bowl game, and that was problematic for Tennessee's defense still, who they were able to put out there. Number 1 and number 2 receivers were both missing, so they didn't have as much time. They didn't have a full offseason to prepare, and Purdue still was able to slice up Tennessee's defense. So if those questions are not answered against Ball State and you're still coming out there saying, where was the pass rush? Or they can't get any stops defensively, if that's any kind of question mark, then it becomes a concern against Pitt.
And while Kenny Pickett he's now in the NFL first-round pick, he was a good quarterback, Tennessee's defense last year made a lot of average quarterbacks look like good quarterbacks.
And they have a talented transfer coming in Keaton Slovis from USC.
Let me go ahead and show you some numbers here I think are interesting. People, Pat Narduzzi, 2-1 versus Josh Heupel. And this is not ancient history. These are since 2018. Heupel beat him 45-14. The following year, Pitt beat UCF 35-34. And then, of course, last year beat Tennessee 41-34. And Tennessee's 0-3 all-time versus Pitt, including all those games here. What were you going to say, Jim?
That I saw a list of the top 10 front sevens in college football, and Pitt was in the top 10 of the best front sevens in college football, which tells you their defense could be pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a real challenge.
It
I
is.
think that's a real first test.
Yeah.
And you do not want to drop to 0-2 in the Johnny Majors Classic. You don't want to be winless in both games.
I thought you were going to say on the season. I'm like, I don't think we're going to get another Georgia State here,
Well,
but
it's just
we'll
some
see.
suspense there, John.
Yeah, very good. All right. When we come back, everyone's looking forward to the Florida matchup, but will that game be more about the head-to-head battle between the quarterbacks or the head-to-head battle between the newish coaches? We'll talk about that next, coming back on the Sports Source.